Hi there, welcome in today. My name is Lisa. We'll be doing a spring equinox practice today, spring equinox inspired. It's a beautiful rainy day in San Diego, so it's a nice day to roll out your mat. It's a nice day to roll out your mat anytime, whenever you're watching this video. So we'll be inspired by the spring equinox, which happened for us yesterday. And taking that idea of change of season into something where things begin to blossom back out as the days get longer. And taking the time to think about any seeds of intention, if you will, that we might have been thinking about or perhaps laying a little bit dormant in the winter time, and using the snow melt of the spring or the rain that we're experiencing today to water those seeds of intention, whatever that might be for you. We'll start in a seated position. You might like to have blocks to use for your practice today, but that's up to you. Any other props that you might like to have, you can gather those. Arriving here on your mat, you might like to close your eyes or leave your eyes open. Perhaps you'd even like to bring into your space something that's green to remind us of that environment that's outside. We'll focus on our breath, and as we begin to deepen the breath, think about breathing into that space that's just above your belly button, the navel center. Deepening your breath, expanding it out, and encouraging your breath to be smooth and balanced so that the inhales and the exhales are about the same length. If you have a specific intention or dedication that you'd like to use for your practice today, this would be a good time to bring that to mind. We'll be here for another breath or two. And as you're ready to, if the eyes are closed, let your eyes open. We're going to work with some seated twist and then some movement as well. So I'm going to turn side on to you. Sitting on the mat. Take an inhale breath, sit up nice and tall. And with the exhale breath, rotate to your right side. So we'll rotate the torso just as far as it feels comfortable. And if it feels okay for you to turn your head and bring some stretch into your neck, you're welcome to do that as well. But know that you can leave the head here in neutral with the chin lined up just right here at the notch of the collarbones. That's fine too. And take one more breath here, big deep breath. And with the exhale breath, come back through the center. We'll move in the other direction, rotating, sitting tall, shoulders on top of the hips, and let your head rest back on top of your shoulders. Deep breaths. Take one more breath in here. And with the exhale breath, come back through the center. And I'm going to relocate on my mat here just a bit. We'll work with one of two things, either spine rolls, rolling back and forth on your spine, if that feels comfortable to you. I have a nice soft surface that I'm working on. Or if spine rolls don't work for you, you could come into a moving seated spine twist. So moving back and forth in a faster motion. Here's a spine roll. We'll do that one more time. And as you're ready to coming back up to seated, we'll all come up to seated with the feet down on the mat, knees bent. We'll bring the hands behind the thighs, behind the knee crease, and lean back just a little bit. So we're moving off of the sit bones, just back behind them. You could come up to your toe tips, maybe they float a bit, or maybe you'd like to float 1 foot at a time, just to see what that feels like. Now, the whole time we're keeping the spine extended, not going into a rounded back, but lifting the chest, lengthening the spine. You could possibly float both shins parallel to the ground if that feels good for you. We'll be here for one more breath, Navasana, or some version of Navasana. And then we'll cross the legs the other way. So cross the legs the funny feeling way. That way you'll know it's the other way. Take a deep breath in. And as you breathe out, rotate to your left side. We'll be here for a few deep breaths. One more inhale breath. Exhale breath coming through the center, rotate to the other side, deep breaths. And one more breath here, inhaling. And with the exhale breath, come back through the center. We'll repeat either the spine rolls or the faster spine twist, whatever works best for you. We're stoking our internal fires right from the get-go, getting the energy going. Sit back up nice and tall, right on top of the sit bones, and then we'll lean back. Torso comes back maybe about halfway, we might say. Walk the feet in a bit. We're back off of the sit bones. Gather into your midsection all around, supporting, and then when it feels good to you, floating one foot or the other, floating both feet. You're welcome to extend the legs out if the quads are going to want to do that for you. And you're also welcome to let go of the arms in any way, shape, or form that works for you. Take one more breath here. Make sure that you're breathing. Cross the legs any way that you want to. Spine twist to your right. Deep breath. Inhale, come back through the center. Spine twist to your left. Deep breath. And then either spine rolls or spine twist, moving a little faster. One more time. Coming back up to seated. Lean back, chest is lifted, spine extended, center of the body engaged. Anything that you like. Feet could stay down, feet could come up in any way that's working out for you. Take a deep breath in. Breathe out and release. Just a few wave-like motions here in the spine as we roll forward and back and come out of that Navasana. Your heart may be beating faster, your breath may be coming a little bit faster now as we move a little faster, and that's nice. We want to kind of get the energy going in the way that we would sort of be waking up from the winter as we enter into spring. Sit up nice and tall. We're going to come to hands and knees any way that you'd like to get there. And once you arrive in your table pose, we'll go through a few cow and cats. And this can be our regular cow and cat. Maybe you'd even like to tuck the toes under as you come into cow and perhaps untuck as you move into cat. But then we'll change that shape just a little bit. So instead of spine extension and flexion, now we'll move into some side bending, so curving from one side to the other. We could move that all the way around, looping it all the way around. In any way that feels good for you, reverse that circle. If you're circling the ribcage around, reversing it. Come back up to table, and from here, let's think about circling the pelvis. So you're imagining that you're drawing a circle on your mat with the front of your pelvis, just circling it around, and then you could reverse that circle in the other direction. Great. Let's walk the hands several handprints forward in front of you, and you'll probably want to extend the arms out a little wider apart. We'll move into what's called heart chakra pose on a Hatha asana. Hips will stay on top of the knees, beginning to arch the back to any degree and sinking the chest toward the mat. Now here it could be nice to have a block under your forehead, a block at any height. I don't have any blocks in the area with me right now, so I'm just going to imagine that I have a block there. And if it feels good to bring the forehead all the way down to the mat, you're welcome to do that. We're looking to tilt the pelvis forward, to turn the sit bones up, similar to how we do in down dog, to extend the spine and stretch through the front of the shoulder and the chest. Wherever you are, forehead resting on a block or on the ground, take a deep breath in. Arms are extended as long and straight as you can get them. And as you breathe out, press down into the hands. We'll walk the hands back in underneath the shoulders. And from here, we'll move into downward facing dog. Now, for down dog, we'll walk the hands another handprint forward. You could lift the knees up off the mat. Heels would be sinking down toward the mat. You could also stay on the mat and extend the arms out, similar to our heart chakra pose, but without the back bend. Another option here would be dolphin pose. If the hands or the forearms or the wrists don't like down dog, you could go into dolphin, lifting the knees up in this way. So however you'd like to get there, you're coming into some version of some mammal, land or ocean. We'll take one more breath here in our downward facing dog. And as you're ready to, start to walk the hands back toward the feet.
A little more core engagement that way. We'll come into a standing forward fold, as long as that's okay for your back. Otherwise, it could be half fold. As you're ready to, let's all meet in a half fold. Wherever you've been, we'll come to half fold, hands on the shins. Really extend the spine, soften through the knees so that you feel you can get full extension here in the spine. With your next breath in, we'll rise all the way up. The arms could reach out in front of you. The arms could reach overhead if that feels good too. And then we'll bring the arms down by our side. Take a little stroll toward the front of your mat. As you're ready to, take an inhale breath, bend the knees and bend the hip creases too. Keep the torso upright as we sink back and down into our Utkatasana. We call it chair pose, but it translates as fierce pose, so it should be feeling fierce in your legs. You might take a quick look down to make sure that your toes, your feet, and your knees are pointed straight forward and they haven't started to turn in or turn out in any way. So we're getting some heat in the legs. As you're ready to, straighten the legs, the arms come down, take a deep breath in, breathe out, come back into our Utkatasana, sitting back and down, weight in the heels, torso remains upright. One more breath in, breathe out, straighten the legs, the arms come down, and try that one more time. Sitting back and down, torso remains upright. I almost feel like I'm about to tip over backwards. Breath in. Great, breathe out and release back down. Shake out your arms and legs. I'm going to turn to face the front of you, or face the front so that you can see this. We'll come back into our Utkatasana. There we are. Bring hands together in front of the chest. And as you're ready to, let's twist to your right side. Now, can we do that keeping the feet, the knees, and the pelvis relatively square to the front? I'm going to give it a try. And come back through the center, stand up, arms down by your sides, go back into our Utkatasana. Torso stays pretty upright, and then rotate, and come back to the center, stand up. Let's try that again to both sides. Now, sometimes we'll see this pose practiced folding forward, which is fine, but today I'm asking you to remain upright, come back to the center, to bring a little more heat into our legs. Sinking back and down, torso stays upright and rotating just as best you can. We'll bring it back into the center and release it back down. Very nice. Shake out the arms and legs. We'll take a breath in. We're at the front of the mat. Breathe out and fold forward. Step back into your downward facing dog or dolphin. Landing here in this shape. If you are standing up on your feet, have a look back at your feet. The feet, toes, knees pointing forward. Sometimes here in dolphin or in down dog, our knees might roll in. We might get this internal rotation really of the thigh bones. So can you press into the outer edges of your feet and you'll experience a deeper stretch in that way. That might resonate all the way up to pelvic floor. Stay here, deep breath in. And as you breathe out, slowly lower the knees down to the mat. Slowly, 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 bringing them down. Try to keep the arms long and extended, just for fun. And the knees come all the way down. We'll come back into hands and knees table. As you're ready to step your right foot forward, we're going to come into a kneeling low lunge. Here, if you do have blocks could be under your hands. That would be great. Toes in the back could be tucked or untucked, whatever's feeling better to you. Leave your left hand down. We'll take the right hand up onto the right thigh to help us come into a kneeling low lunge twist. And we're rotating the torso just as we were doing in our Utkatasana, our chair pose, trying to rotate just the torso and leaving the pelvis in place. If it feels good, you can release the hand and either reach back or you could reach up, whatever feels good for you. If the arm is lifted up, another option would be to bend at the elbow. You'll find more stretch across the front shoulder and chest that way. Take one more deep breath in. And as you breathe out, release it back down. We'll change sides. So stepping the front foot back, stepping the back foot forward. Hips shifting forward and down just as much as you need to. We're in the kneeling low lunge. Leaving your right hand down, left hand comes up onto left thigh. You may even want to hook your thumb into your hip crease to give it a little pull back and down, just to remind your pelvis, to remind your body that we're keeping the pelvis squared. Left hand can move onto your left thigh, push down to help rotate open. You'll see the back of me here rotating toward your inner thigh. And then hand could remain down on the thigh, or you could reach it back, or you could reach it up, whatever's feeling better for you. Your head could be looking down to the side. You could turn and look back and up, whatever feels good. We'll take one more breath here. And as you're ready to, bring that lifted hand back down. We'll step this back, come all the way down onto the mat. We'll arrive here, hands just outside the shoulders, any distance. Take an inhale breath and rise into just a small cobra. And we're gonna move in and out of these cobra lifts. So you can experiment with the placement of your hands, with the placement of your legs even. Maybe the legs would like to be wider apart here behind you. Continue lifting and lowering. We are looking for the sensation of compression, good compression in your back, but we don't want to feel any kind of pinching or impingement. So you are noticing what it feels like as you lift up, and you're only lifting up as high as you feel that you need to go. We'll take one more cobra lift here. And as you're ready to release all the way back down, you can rest your forehead here on your hands or on the mat, or you could turn your head to the side. We'll tuck the toes under in the back, and then let's walk the legs back into center, especially if you do have them wider apart. So legs come back into neutral, kneecaps are pointing straight down. Leave your head down. I'm just going to turn and look up this way so that you can see. I'm going to reach back with my right hand and bend my right knee. Now you might be able to hook onto your pant leg here. You might be able to hold onto your foot. Certainly if you're working with a yoga belt or strap, you're welcome to use that around the foot as well. But another option too is to just simply be satisfied with where you have landed. And if you're not making contact with the hand to the foot or your pant leg, just use your hamstrings to draw the heel in. Your hamstrings might cramp a little bit as you use them more. That's okay. You can just shake it out, straighten out the leg and shake it out and come back to it when you can. Otherwise, if you are making some kind of contact, we might pull the heel in a little closer, this passive range of motion here at the knee joint, feeling a stretch across the front of the thigh. We're pressing the pelvis forward and down into the mat. And we'll take one more breath here. Exhale, breath, and release. Change sides. We can begin to bend the left knee. You might like to reach back with your left hand. See if there's any contact to be made on this side. Otherwise, changing the yoga belt, yoga strap to the other side if you're using one. And pressing the pelvis forward and down into the mat, looking for sensation of stretch across the front of your thigh. Let's take one more breath here. Breathe out and release it back down. Take a moment just to shake your hips. Let your legs roll a little bit side to side. We'll return to Cobra. One more inhale breath here in our Cobra. With the exhale breath, lower the torso down, tuck toes under. We'll rise back up to hands and knees, and from hands and knees, we can begin to sink back towards child's pose. Hips are moving back and down. Not all knees are going to want to bend really deeply, and that's fine. You could place a pillow or a block behind your legs, or you could simply move halfway back to child's pose. Let's all tuck the tailbone under wherever you've landed so that we can experience maybe a deeper stretch across the low back. Whether your hips are down on your heels or nowhere near that, we can visualize the pelvis just getting really heavy and becoming an anchor point, and then we're stretching the upper body up and away, up and out of that anchor point. We'll take one more breath here in our child's pose. As you're ready to, rising back up to hands and knees, return to your version of down dog or your version of dolphin pose, whichever one you're using today. If you are standing on your feet again, have a look at your feet, have a look at your knees, and see, are we getting any kind of turning in, that internal rotation? Can we press into the outer edges of the feet, the outer heel, and straighten the legs out just as much as they'll go? We'll take one more breath here. And then as you're ready to, walking the hands back to the feet. Again, just a little more core engagement that way. You can bend the knees, you can pick the fingers up onto, just a little tenting up onto your fingertips, or you can take the hands off the mat. We arrive in forward fold, but remember that could always be a half fold when that's just working better in your body. With your next inhale breath, rise all the way up. Your arms could come out in front of you. They could go all the way overhead, and then we'll lower the arms down. Take a little shake with your legs, and we'll take a little walk to the front of the mat, standing in mountain pose. I'm going to turn and face you here so that you can see what I'm working with. Feet come pretty close together. We'll take an inhale breath, stretch the arms out or up, and with the exhale breath, side bend up and over to your right side. You might like to hold on to the wrist with the hand, or you might like to bend at the elbow, let it rest across the top of the head. Lift the elbow up nice and high. Take an inhale breath back through the center. Exhale breath, moving to the other side, either holding at the wrist or letting the arm rest across the top of the head. If your shoulder doesn't love that, you can always leave your arms down. You can side bend without lifting the arms too. We'll take an inhale breath back through the center, head back up and over to the other side. So either holding the wrist, letting the arm hang, whatever works best for you. Inhaling and exhaling, changing sides. We'll take an inhale breath, rising back up, exhale breath, and lowering the arms down. Give your shoulders a little roll here back and a little roll forward. Roll them back one more time so that we can set our posture nice and tall, so that instead of perhaps rolling in and coming forward, we might be able to blossom, if you will, blossom out through the front body and stand up into our nice tall and good posture, opening up the front body. Good for so many reasons. Big reason, give your internal organs room to do what they need to do rather than compressing them with a rounded back. So we'll come up nice and tall, and we're going to work with crane pose, crane balance. Feet come pretty close together, and then pick up your right heel or maybe float your right knee up. Now the arms could come out in front of you, they could move to the side, they could move overhead, whatever's working best. I'm going to bring my hands to the front here. And then lower back down. Let's try that on the other side. Pick up your left heel or perhaps float your left foot up. Maybe your thigh is parallel to the ground. Great. And lower it back down. Let's take an inhale breath, pick up your right heel. We'll repeat that again on the right side. Float the leg up if that's working for you. Your eyes are fixed on one spot out in front of you. And then as you're ready to, swing the arms back and down and back behind you. Lift the chest, burst open through the heart center, and we'll start to swing the bent knee, leg behind us. So we're coming into a kind of a dancer shape without holding on to the leg. We can move that back to the front, swinging up and out into our crane balance, and then swinging back into this dancer. And we could do that another time. Swing back and hold. If you do want to hold on to the leg, either with one hand or both hands, you're welcome to do that. Can be really interesting to try these familiar poses, these familiar shapes in slightly different ways. We'll take one more breath and release it back down. Give your legs a good shake. I've got extra challenge because I am practicing here on a carpeted area. So if you are working on a carpeted area and that's just challenging your balance too much, you're always welcome to move to some place with a more solid ground, a tile or a wood floor, and you'll find that you might have a little more success with that. On the other hand, if you'd like more challenge, you can always fold up your mat. You can always work on a carpeted area or place a yoga blanket underneath your mat or fold up your mat, just anything that feels comfortable for you, but adding in that extra challenge too. So with that said, let's try it on the other side. Whatever surface you're on, pick up your left heel, maybe floating your left leg up. And then as you're ready to, float the arms down, maybe even back behind you. Swing the lifted leg, keep the knee bent and swing it back behind you. Now let's move between those two places, our crane balance, leg, arms out in front, and our dancer, arms and leg back behind. Try that a few more times. And this will be our last time swinging it to the front, swinging it to the back. We'll stay here for balance. If you'd like to, a hand or both hands could hold on. Again, maybe it's more interesting to try something in a slightly different way. We're still rolling the shoulders back, upper arm bones moving back, heart center bursting wide open to the front. Take one more breath in here and breathe out. Whew, the standing leg is working hard, but the lifting leg working hard too. Hamstrings may be working in a way that they don't usually work. All right, I'll turn to the front. You can turn any which way you like, and we'll lift the right heel up and just swivel the leg. So you can think of a door maybe swinging open, swinging closed. We'll try that on the other side. Just rotating on the ball of the foot and feeling that external rotation here at the hip, maybe a little bit of internal as it comes back in. We'll try that if it feels good to you, floating the leg up. We might call this a fishtail. Maybe one of those beautiful fish with the really long tails. And so you can swing your tail. We're internally rotating and externally rotating the leg from the hip joint. And then try the other side. Great. Arms are doing whatever you like. So hands could be together here in front of the chest. Arms could be out to help with your balance. Again, this soft floor is giving me a big challenge. Great, and then we'll bring it back in. Certainly we had a little bit of movement in the pelvis side to side there. No big deal. We're just trying to refresh the hip joints with a little bit of movement and moving them in a range of motion that we need to maintain. So with that said, let's come back to the front of the mat. If you've moved away from that, pick up your right heel, maybe float the foot up. The arms could come out or the arms could come up. We'll take a long step back. Now, can you do that slowly to really challenge your balance? A long step back into our high lunge. Arms might be up or down. Press back through the back heel as much as you can. Bend the front knee as deeply as it would like to go. Take a deep breath in. Breathe out, put the back heel down, let the body open out to the long side of your mat, Virabhadrasana 2. And we can stay here with the arms extended, or we need like to get a little extra stretch here. We could put our cow head arms on, Gomukhasana arms. Front arm moves behind the head, back arm moves to the low back. Keep bending the front knee as deeply as you can. If it feels good to recline here, you can do that as well. Picking up this elbow or picking up the arm. Take a deep breath in. Breathe out. Let's release the arms if you did have them behind you and begin to tilt into side angle. Your front hand or front forearm could come down onto the front thigh. The back arm could keep reaching back, or if you'd like to, reaching up. If you'd like to, swing it up and overhead, our side angle. Breath is still moving smooth and deep. An option here, the hand or arm that's resting on the thigh could move away. You'll feel that challenge your center a little more. I always love that challenge. We'll take one more breath here. And as you're ready to lower the arms, straighten out the leg, we can stay here and just turn to the other side. So we've changed sides with our poses simply by changing out the feet. Take an inhale breath, burst the arms open wide. With the exhale breath, bend the knee, what is now your front knee. So probably your left knee. We can look out over the fingertips or turn and look to the side. And remember, option here when you'd like to take it, your bent knee leg, front leg hand moves behind the head, the back arm moves back behind your back. Gomukhasana arms. In this case, if you're using Gomukhasana arms, probably best to turn your gaze to the side rather than looking to the front. Another option here is a recline, lifting the front elbow just a bit higher. We'll take one more breath in here. And as you breathe out, burst the arms open wide. Take the front hand down onto the front leg, back arm as you wish, reaching behind, maybe reaching it up and out, perhaps swinging the arm all the way around to lift it. Your head could be looking down to the side, or maybe you're looking up. Remember, an option here in our side angle is to pick up the hand that is helping to support us down on the leg and let it float to any degree, maybe parallel to the top arm even, and challenging our center just a little more. Take a deep breath in. We'll lift back up, straighten the front leg and lower the arms down. Change your feet so they're now parallel to each other, and we'll walk the feet in, toe heel or step step. Take a little march in place. Would be great to get that high lunge on the other side since we changed out our feet. So come back to the front of your mat, pick up your left heel or float your left foot up, and let's come into high lunge on the other side. Pressing back through the back heel. Arms could reach out in front of you. Arms could reach overhead, whatever's feeling good. Take a deep breath in. As you breathe out, lower the arms down. We'll take this high lunge to transition into our 2 balance challenges that we're working today. Step onto your front foot, kick the back leg behind you, and let's see if we can balance. I'm looking outside onto this beautiful landscape. There's a lot going on outside with the rain, so I have to choose one thing to look at to help me balance here. I'll step toward the center a little more. So I'm kicking the leg behind me. I came out of that high lunge, working with my dancer. And then I'm going to swing the arms behind, still balancing. And yogi's choice if you'd like to hold the leg up using your leg muscles, or if you'd like to hold the leg up using your arm muscles, upper body. Let's release that, but instead of putting the foot down, can you swing the knee up to the front? Bring hands together in front of your chest. I'm going to turn so you can see me. So the knee comes up to the front, and then let's turn out into tree. Can we do that without using the hands to place the foot onto the leg? And it's always your choice. You're welcome to practice as you wish, but I like to challenge the strength of my legs. Great. Swing it back in and step it back down. We'll try that on the other side. So now your right foot, let's step it behind. Let's just go back into that high lunge so we can repeat that on the other side. Hands come together in front of the heart. Step onto your front foot, and let's kick this back leg behind us. Come into this dancer balance, and then yogi's choice if you'd like to balance and lift the leg with your leg muscles, or if you'd like to reach a hand or both hands behind you perhaps to hold on with the strength of your arms. Take a deep breath in here. As you breathe out, if you are holding the leg with your hands, we'll release that. Hands come to heart center. I'll turn and face the front here so you can see me. We'll swing the leg from the back to the front, turn it out. See how high we might be able to lift the leg using the strength of our leg, and move into tree. One more breath here. Swing the leg back through the center if you're still lifted, and lower it back down. Give your arms and legs a little shake. So let's see what might happen if we move between those 2 poses, our dancer and our tree pose. What might happen if we continue to move with that as well? Again, challenge here on my softer floor. Bring the feet together a little bit closer. As you're ready to, pick up your right heel, maybe float the foot off the mat. We'll swing the leg behind us for dancer, and when you'd like to, you can take the hands back, either reaching or holding, but then we'll bring the hands to the chest, float the knee up. How high can you lift the foot? Into tree, but then we're gonna go back. So pick the knee up, swing the leg behind our dancer, and come back to tree, the dancer tree, or the tree dancer. One more time, swing the leg back. I'm hanging on to my balance, and bring it to the front. Find tree, stay there, take a breath, and release. Your standing leg is probably ready for that release, working really hard to hold you up. So we feel that. I'm feeling that again on the soft surface through my feet, through my calves, but also I know that my hip stabilizing muscles are working really hard to hold me up, and I do want to strengthen those. Let's try it on the other side. Hands where you like, in front of your chest, or maybe reaching behind you. Pick up your left heel, maybe pick up your left foot and float the leg. We'll swing the leg back behind us, right? And then bring it out to the front. Lift it up as high as you can, turn it out to our tree, and we'll come back through the center, moving back and forth between this dancer shape and tree shape. Ooh, keep breathing, keep smiling. Right, and we'll come back to tree one more time. See if you can hold it there. Ah. And bring the knee back to the center. Release the arms, release the leg. Give the arms and legs a good shake. Beautiful work. Let's come into Malasana, yogic squat. I'm gonna turn and face the front of my mat. You can do this by sinking all the way down into full squat when that works for you, or you could do this by coming into half squat. We're using this as a transition to get to the mat. So whether you're here in half squat or whether you've sunk further down, the heels might be up, the heels might be down, just depending on your ankle mobility. We'll take a hand behind to help us move down to the mat, and any way you'd like to get there, we're coming down. Now we've sat down onto our bottom, but we're going to transfer over onto the shins and come into Thunderbolt. Hugging the legs together. You can always use a block underneath your hips anytime you need that. Let the hands rest here on the fronts of the thighs. Big quad stretch for sure. When you need something deeper, maybe we start to lean it back. And when you need something deeper from that, you're welcome to move into hero's pose. The knees stay together, feet come just a little further apart, and in that case your hips would move down between your heels and just as far as you need to go. I'm going to stay here in Thunderbolt. We'll take one more breath here. Just a moment to catch our breath again after all the balancing. And then as you're ready to, let's come up to kneeling here. If you need extra padding, you can always fold your mat over. If you are on a firmer surface, fold your mat over. So we'll come up to kneeling. Toes can be tucked under or untucked, you choose. And we're going to move into camel pose. So the dancer pose and the preparation for that brought us into back bending already. So any depth of this camel pose that works for you is great. Maybe you'd like blocks outside the ankles to place your hands onto, but we also might leave our hands here at the back, creating support. Pelvis is pressing forward, hips on top of the knees. The back bending comes as we start to lean back further. As we do lean back, you're welcome to, of course, turn and look up toward the ceiling, but we can work with camel pose with the chin down as well. You know, if the hands do come back and down onto blocks or back and down onto your heels, that takes the hips behind the knees. That's fine. When we want to increase the back bending of that, stretching across the front, whole front of the body, we can press the hips forward. So pressing the hips forward, blossoming the front body open once again. Blossoming is good. We'll be here for one more breath. And as you're ready to, lifting back up. We'll come back to hands and knees, back into table. Stay there, resist the urge for a big cow and cat. We can untuck the toes. Take one more breath, and then as you're ready to, let's start with simple pelvic tilts. Pelvis tilts a little bit forward, it tilts a little bit back. And then we could start to move that into something bigger cow and cat if you'd like. And we'll take one more breath there. Let the hips stay on top of the knees. We'll walk the right hand forward and slide the left arm underneath. Now we're coming down when you can, coming down onto the shoulder. Bring the side of the head to the mat, threading the needle. But when that doesn't work so well for you, you can always place a block there for your shoulder and for your head to rest on. We'd love to keep the hips on top of the knees, bringing some stretch to the back of the shoulder. Been working really hard as we slide the arms behind us. Come back up through the center and we'll change sides. It may be different as you change from side to side, so using blocks or not using blocks. Going back to the breath, finding it to be deep and smooth. And rise back up. One more time, just a few cow and cats. And if you'd like to, you could take that sideways as we did before, side bending, or maybe circling all the way around, one way and the other way. We're going to have a seat on the mat, and I'm going to turn and face the front so that you can see me here. Sit down onto your right hip and let the feet move over to the left side. Now you could let the feet or let the legs stay here, or if you'd like to, top leg could slide back behind you.
whatever feels best. Sit nice and tall. Right hand is helping to support you, so instead of shifting off to the right, we're pulling nice and tall. Big breath in, breathe out and rotate to your right side. Have a look down. If you see your feet, go the other way. Big breath in here. And as you breathe out, return to the center. We can slide the right hand a little further over to the right when it feels good to you, pressing the hips forward and up. Maybe this other arm comes up and over. Take one more breath in, breathing out, coming back down. We'll turn so that we can straighten out the back leg. So that would be your left leg, keeping the right knee bent, and we'll move into Janu Shirshasana. Sitting tall, hinging forward from the hips. Remember that you can bring stretch to different parts of the body as we forward fold. So if you'd like lower half of the body, backs of the legs to stretch, then keep your spine extended, or we might say keep your back flat. And when you want to bring stretch into your back, that's when we might round or flex the spine here. So you can decide which part of you needs more stretch. I'm going to bring more stretch to my hamstrings because they were working really hard to hold me up in that dancer pose. We'll take one more breath here. And as you're ready, lifting back up. Let's change sides with our mermaid sit. So sitting down onto your left side now. Let the legs swing around to your right. Remember that the legs could remain stacked, or if it feels okay for you, we could swing this leg behind. Left hand pulls in to help us sit nice and tall. Big breath in, breathe out, and rotate to your left side. And we'll be here for one more breath. Return to the center. Left hand could slide further out. We could either lean back, or when it feels good to you, lift the hips up, push them forward and up. Your right arm might like to come up and over. Take a big breath in. Breathe out. Lower the hips back down if you did have them lifted up. I'm going to turn to the other side for Janu Shirshasana. So the top leg, or the leg that was behind you, that's going to be your right leg. We'll straighten that out in front. Begin to hinge forward. Again, you're choosing if you'd like to keep the spine extended in order to have more effect on the hamstrings, or if you'd like to round or flex the spine to bring more stretch into the back. We'll be here for one more breath. As you're ready to, lifting back upright. I'm going to turn and face the other direction. What is the front of my mat? We'll come down onto your back. Lying down in any way that feels comfortable to you. Let the feet walk a little bit wider apart, and we can start to windshield wiper the knees. Your arms could stay close to you. They could move further out, or maybe even put your cactus arms on when that feels good. Bring the knees back up into the center. Walk the feet pretty close together. Now scoot your hips over to your right side. Drop your knees over to the left. So we shifted the hips just a bit. Outer hip stacked right on top of the lower hip, the one that's on the ground. Once we're here, the arms could stay close to your sides. They could move out and away from you. I'm a little space challenged here, so I'm going to put on my cactus arms. Coming into this reclining twist, experiencing it any way that you'd like to. Maybe a block between the knees. Maybe pulling the top knee a little further across with opposite hand. Wherever you are, we're breathing length into the spine. We'll be here for one more breath. So you're ready to unwinding, releasing back out, shifting the hips back into the center, bringing the knees back into the center. Take one bridge lift here in the center, easy bridge, and lower it back down. Let's change sides. So shifting your hips to the left, Dropping your knees to the right. Again, trying to stack the top hip directly on top of the bottom, and then arms wherever you like, close to you, further away for more stretch, or follow me with some cactus arms here, bending at the elbows. Lots of variations that we might try. You can choose the one that is your favorite or the one that's working best for you right now. Maybe opposite hand, pulling top leg a little further across. And we'll take one more breath here. As you're ready to, shifting back into the center. Take one bridge lift here, lifting the hips up and putting the back down. Yogi's choice. We could either work with a reclining bound angle, feet together, knees apart, maybe pressing the elbows into the inner thighs. Or if it feels good to you, we can come into Happy Baby, Ananda Balasana, hands moving to the outsides of the legs, either here, outside the thigh, the calf, the outer edge of the foot. So with this Ananda Balasana, the knees, bent knees are moving down and out to the side, and the soles of the feet are pointing up toward the ceiling. See which one feels better to you, to your hips, to your back. And then once you get there, you can decide if you'd like to really flatten out the low back or maybe curl the tailbone a little more up toward the ceiling. Spending a few more breaths here. Perhaps you'd like to rock side to side a bit, whichever pose you're in. And we'll take one more breath here. Feet together, knees come together. Place the feet back down onto the mat one more time. One bridge lift, just like a pelvic reset. Pushing down into the heels, lifting the hips up and lowering the hips back down. We'll move into shavasana, and that can take any shape that you like, perhaps resting flat on the mat here, but there are other options to take too. You should do what feels most comfortable to you. If you have a space where you could put your legs up the wall or legs on a chair, you might do that as well. Gather any props that will help you to feel more comfortable, and we'll settle into our shavasana. Perhaps closing your eyes or leaving the eyes open. Take as much time as you like here in your shavasana. I'm going to leave you in this place. I thank you so much for practicing with me. Namaste.